Hello, and welcome to Alexandria Hayes' presentation of acting and theatre in Elizabethan England. As I'm sure you know, I am William Shakespeare. Please silence all cell phones and devote your complete attention to the video essay you are about to watch. Many thanks. Actors in Shakespeare's time did not have the same allure and wealth as they do now in the 21st century. In fact, actors were not trusted and considered vagabonds, and were fined from traveling from town to town. To avoid this fine, a troupe of actors would become servants to a lord so that their occupation wouldn't technically be acting. This is why we hear about groups such as the Admiral's Men or the Chamberlain's Men. You basically just had to find a random royal and become their servant. In Elizabethan England, there were laws called sumptuary laws that dictated what style and type of clothes you could wear based on your social status. And if you violated these laws, you could be fined or even put to death. It basically meant poor people wore peasant clothes and rich people wore royal clothes. However, an exception to these laws were actors. If an actor was playing the role of a king or noble in a production, they were allowed to wear a costume that violated the sumptuary laws. This made it easier for the Elizabethan audience to determine the social status of characters on stage. And now, a brief moment to appreciate Elizabeth's humble wardrobe. This has been a brief moment to appreciate Elizabeth's humble wardrobe.
The theatre.
There were two types of Elizabethan theatres: amphitheatres and playhouses. Amphitheatres were the most popular with the common people because they were inexpensive. One of the first amphitheatres in London was the Theatre, which was later renamed the Globe Theatre. Of course, women weren't allowed in the theatre, but there are cases of women dressing up as men to sneak in to see shows. Amphitheatres had open ceilings that were great for lighting, but in turn were more exposed to the elements. The other type of theatres were playhouses, which were indoor. Playhouses were typically more expensive, so they appealed to a fancier, more wealthy crowd. While playhouse performances were not determined by weather, they were frequently closed down due to indoor spaces contributing to more cases of the plague. Kinda like what we're doing in 2020. Because playhouses appealed to a more affluent crowd, the plays were usually geared toward the upper classes and written by excuse me. Alright, back to me. Shakespeare? This isn't your time to be talking. Well, it's time for some Shakespeare trivia. Well, would you look at me? Today in Shakespeare trivia, we will be discussing some of the plays I wrote. I wrote many plays, 37 to be exact. Anyway, back to the trivia. Always my favorite part of the show. Now, back to a list of my accomplishments. As you know, I am the most famous and contributed the most to plays in the era that is in fact named after me, the Shakespearean era. I began my career with comedies, and then hi, now that he's gone, hi, I'm Christopher Marlowe. I'm part of a playwriting group called the University Wits. We were all playwrights who graduated with our masters from various schools such as Oxford or Cambridge. We wrote plays that were performed in the playhouses found in various places in England. I will now take a moment to introduce some of my fellow wits. This is Thomas Kidd. I know Thomas pretty well because we were roommates for a time and frequently exchanged ideas for our works. Thomas wrote one of the most popular plays in Elizabethan England, The Spanish Tragedy. The second university wit is John Lilly. John was a writer, poet, dramatist, and courtier, best known for his books Ephesus, The Anatomy of Wit, and Ephesus and His England. He wrote a play that later inspired Shakespeare's As You Like It. Thomas Nash. Although Thomas Nash is considered a university wit, his play Summer's Last Will and Testament is his only solo-authored play. His other surviving dramatic work is a collaboration with me, Christopher Marlowe. Even though his playwriting career was short, his play is notable for breaking new ground in the development of English Renaissance drama. It was said of it, no earlier English comedy has had anything like the intellectual content or the social relevance that it has. The next university wit is Robert Greene. Robert was best known for his play Friar Bacon and Friar Monkey, which had elements of history, love, magicians, a talking head, what's not to love? Robert was not a fan of Shakespeare and even wrote a pamphlet about Henry VI, calling Shakespeare an upstart crow, beautified with our feathers, meaning he could never write as well as the wits. That's some serious shade. Many of the university wits did not like Shakespeare because he tended to use themes and plot lines of other playwrights and get the credit.
So you see, while Shakespeare was a great playwright of his day, we, the university wits, set up an appreciation for theater community in Elizabethan England that paved the way to Shakespeare's later success. William Shakespeare! What are you doing?